right, we appreciate you for staying with us. Of course, we are live in Benin. This is independent television. The program is still Business This Week. Okay, so we are looking at the transport sector this Friday afternoon, and a lot has been happening in that sector, even though attention has not really been given to it. Hopefully, with the passing of time, the government can actually do the needful to ensure that this sector that contributes so much to the economy, all right, can be given the needed attention. I mean, tech has become the in thing now. Almost in every sector, you cannot really talk about without, paying so much attention to what tech is really doing. And that's how we want to look at how the emerging trends as far as our transport system is concerned, not just globally, we are bringing it down to Nigeria, how Nigeria can take advantage of what we hear in other climes, all right? There is flying cars and, of course, all of the robotic car system, how they can actually be used to turn around the Nigerian economy on the show this afternoon. Well, I'm not the one doing all of the talk because we've got those who are experts in that area, especially the tech aspect of the transport system. There is engineer Joseph Nwanze, who is a tech expert as far as our transport system is concerned. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you.
All right, we also have with us already seated is another individual who is also showing forth all of his prowess as far as tech systems manipulation as far as our transport is concerned as well, talking about engineer Wilson, right? Edovia. Engineer Wilson Edovia, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so let's start off with Engineer Nwanze this afternoon on the show. So a quick one. Now, it seems tech has taken over the space now, even though in some climes, Nigeria, for example, seems not to give attention so much to the area of finding a way to develop the transport sector. I mean, adopting tech now. But let's start off with some of the tech that have been evolving in recent time now, as far as transport is concerned.
All right, thank you very much. As you will know, technology is the driving force behind all the innovations we are seeing today. And how it impacts on the transportation system are already very obvious. It's just that the issue is how can we make it work in our country, Nigeria. Well, emerging technologies in the area of flying cars, as you rightly mentioned, electric vehicles, and we'll have the one on drone distribution system, which DHL is using presently on experimental basis. And then you talk about magnetic levitation, which is essentially the normal train, except that the wheels are meant to designed to generate some magnetic field that provides a cushion between it and its railing. Now, all these are all emerging technologies, and each of them are at various stages of development, and they all have their own individual challenges. In the case of the flying cars, a lot of, as much as a lot of number of persons are driving it, challenges are all there. If you take if we are to adopt it in Nigeria here, where are the airports and helipads where you are going to be landing? Just like you have our transport system, where they have their parking lane, where passengers can board and disembark. In such cases, if you look at it, the practicability of flying cars is still way far from us, and talk less of bringing it down home in Nigeria. And that is that. The one about the drone distribution system is almost about the same thing. Where are the drop points you are going to prepare? And when you compare that with the flying cars, how many of these vehicles are going to be having routes above with the airlines? Are there chances of collision? So the aviation authorities are bedeviled with these challenges. And that is what they are looking at, to see how they can fashion a policy that is workable. But I can guarantee you that it's not going to be easy, and even though some of them are being displayed on the experimental basis. Deploying the commercial at the commercial scale is still quite some distance from here. But for the case of electric vehicle, which you know most the big time companies are already going into, well and good, because in the Western world, the facilities for taking care of these electric vehicles have already been put in place, even up to the rural areas. And the charging ports, the maintenance points, all these are all there. So when you want to look at it, adapting it into our system here, it will take quite a while, because we need to put the infrastructure and then the ability to have the electricity we need, and then the storage system maintenance in all places. Because if you are having an electric vehicle, beautiful as it is, and you are covered about 100 kilometers, and you have exhausted your charge, you definitely will need a charge. For you now to find out that in the location where you are, you don't have the chances of getting a means of charging, it's an issue. And that's one of the critical points that will make the deployment of the electric vehicle nationwide in this country will take quite some time until our infrastructures are fixed. And the under the magnetic levitation, you know what the challenges are with our railway system. As I said, those challenges are also common with this magnetic levitation. If it were to be adopted here, security issues are there. The system must have his charging system at all time T. Otherwise, the frictional system will even cause the train to derail. So these are all aspects that must be visited and looked upon and see the practicability in our system before we go further.
Okay, let me ask Engineer Wilson. Now, looking at some of the things that he talked about now, let's talk about what advantage do you think are there for Nigeria to derive if we are able at least to start off something, taking advantage of how tech is building, you know, to start up something as far as our transport, we know it.
All right. Like he rightly said, today the economy of the world is being driven by tech.
True.
And any government that denies that fact is not ready for development. And so as Nigeria as a country, I believe we can begin to put things in the right order, and then we get all of these things working. Then definitely it's going to take some time, but one thing is certain, the advantage that they offer to the economy cannot be overemphasized. And so I believe, even as we speak right now, and things can be going to place, the government must pay utmost attention in that direction. Young people should be trained to have more expertise in this aspect and deploy all that is needed. So if we start today, definitely in the next 2 years, 3 years, we have something already. So
okay, well, let's take a quick break here. When we return, we'll look what are the major challenge that, of course, will be the issue why Nigeria, why it's difficult now that we cannot start giving attention to that area, and to what extent can it really contribute to the economy. We'll also look at all of that just after this break. Please stay with us, we'll be back. All right, thank you so much for staying with us. The program is still Business This Week. My name is Dennis Ofi. Of course, we're reaching you live from Benin City. I have Engineer Joseph Mwanzi and Engineer Wilson. You do fear your name? Yes, okay, I hope I didn't murder that name. Okay, so they are tech transport experts, and they're helping us to look at how Nigeria can take advantage of emerging technologies as far as the transport sector is concerned. Okay, so I want us to delve into, let's give attention more to electric vehicles, because it seems that is what is the in thing now, in the Western world. Okay, and some of these big tech companies are already coming, maybe some of them are already bringing some of their little techs into Africa. Maybe not the electric vehicles yet. But then I heard that whether in Lagos, in Port Harcourt, you can see 1 or 2 or 3 individuals who have electric vehicles. Of course, those who can afford. Who can afford. But Engineer Wanze, how much will it cost an individual if you want to get an electric vehicle, for example?
Well, as it is presently in our climate, electric vehicle is quite expensive.
Is it because it's just coming on board? Or?
Yes, it's not gone commercial worldwide to the extent, you know. Most of the products they are distributing are mostly customized for certain areas. But in the tropics where we are here, they are not on they're not being brought in on a mass scale. And so you expect that the prices will still be on the high side. But when the facilities are here, and then pushing these vehicles on a commercial scale, naturally the prices will go down. Some of our plants are already making, car companies are already making effort in that direction. But as you know, it is the materials that are required to produce those electric vehicles that are major issues. Everything has to be imported. And when it is produced on that ground, the cost will always still be high until we have a reasonable number of these byproducts of these electric vehicles being processed and manufactured locally.
Okay, so are cable cars still the trend? Cable cars, are they still the trend? I mean, there used to be cable car park somewhere in Cross River State. I don't know if it still exists, but and maybe also in Lagos, I think so. I don't know if I'm still correct now. But are they still the trend now, or that tech has been phased out?
Well, the cable cars you are talking of, these are cable cars that have just rollers, and they are designed to do just about 10-20 kilometers per hour because they are mainly for tourism. They are more, you will see them mostly where people are taking around for tour and for sightseeing. But when it comes to cable cars for commercial purposes, it is already here. Unfortunately, it has not come to Nigeria or Africa, but it is already around the corner. Around the corner? Yes, when I say around the corner, it is already practically running in Sharjah in Dubai. I mean in Dubai and in Sharjah in Belarus. And these cable cars we are talking of here has most of all these features that we are looking at that are the shortcomings of the electric vehicles of today. We'll talk of artificial intelligence. This engineer Anatoly Yuniski's Skyway transportation system, that's the name, has it. And it is driverless. It is having its route elevated from the ground. Is
it similar to what the likes of Elon Musk has in the market?
Yes, once you can envisage what Elon Musk has done in electric vehicle, you will find out that this engineer, Anatoly Yuniski, has scaled it far, far above because first, it is elevated. It has a structure that is about 10-15 meters above ground, and just about the height of your average electric pole or street light. And the route is going to take is essentially the middle of our major highway. At those locations where you have our street lights, these are the points where these poles or structures that are going to hold this vehicle will be planted. And when they are made of special design, highly reinforced steel structure, so they can be, they are adaptable anywhere. You can take it right in the sea, you can take it on the mountains, you can go through our normal routes, and the tropics here is all very, very suitable. All the research work and tests has all been completed, and it's a question of being deployed. And these vehicles, as I told you, because it has its own dedicated route, and below is very free. All vehicles are free to move on their own, and because it has its own commercial value, and it runs very fast, about the highest is taking this over 500 kilometers per hour. That is definitely a very fast movement. Because that's the kind of speed that is comparable to what you have in aviation and our airport. But in terms of cost, if you comparatively too, with our aircraft, it's far, almost 100 times far cheaper. Because if you look at it from, let's take an example, Lagos-Abuja route, and you do it about 58-59 minutes to 1 hour on aircraft. That's about the same time you do on Skyway. But the cost difference is huge. While Skyway will give you about 8 to 12,000 naira for that journey, you know how much an average flight takes from Lagos to Abuja. That should be about between 80 to 100,000 naira, if I'm not mistaken. So, and these are cost implications that are highly reduced in it, are all because the job has been done so deliberately that it has its dedicated route, it's driverless, so there's no cost of the driver, there's no cost of fueling, and it has its own battery system that stores charges like Elon Musk cars or electric vehicles, and the motor wheels that generates this electricity and store in this battery generates and stores just about 20% on any journey, and 80% is available to be given out. So it is very suitable for the what we call net metering, where you have excess energy, you push it into the public domain, where it can be used for the interest and the good of the public. And the Skyway transportation system, as I said, is already very practicable and is sustainable, because sustainability is a very important thing. We talked of air taxi. How long are you going to be able to maintain that facility? How many airports are you going to be having? How many helipads are you going to be having? Where are the spaces where you are going to put that? You see, so there are some technologies that can come, and they've come in the past, but they could not be sustained. I'll give you the example, hovercraft, Concorde plane. They all came out sensational, but at the end of the day, were they sustainable? No. The Engineer Anatoly Yunitsky's Skyway that we are offering is guaranteed 100 years. And that is a fact. And it can be checked, can be googled, can go to YouTube and look at some of the offerings. And
Engineer Wilson, so that sounds more like, okay, even though Elon Musk is someone that, of course, is already known, and when you make mention of electric vehicles and all of that, it seems as though there are other individuals that are already coming up with other brands of electric vehicles, and this seems to be one of them. But, I mean, if you bring it to Africa, you want Africa to also build on this kind of tech. I don't know what, the kind of infrastructure that you think that this will consume, what it will require, and all of that, will it not overwhelm the government?
All right. The truth is, Skyway will reduce costs for the governors. And look at it, every year government make budgets of billions just for road constructions. And amidst all of this, there are insecurities. And of course, we also observe most of the death we record every year from the road safety portal. You discover they are all road accidents. These are things that Skyway will solve. Now, we are not going to construct road like normal asphalt and all of that.
When you say we,
the government as well. No, when I say we, I mean referring to the government as a nation. Yeah, but so what Skyway is doing is that this is elevated string and it's very cost effective. And we have all the material here in Nigeria that can be deployed to make this possible. Now, look at the accident, like I said earlier. You see, today, when we talk about development, we must not take away security. Now, what Skyway have inbuilt is what we call artificial intelligence. So this technology, this transport system, we have ability to sense danger ahead and give feedback and avert a lot of danger. Now, of course, road accident will be away because two vehicles colliding, those things will be a thing of the past. So that simply means in the long run, the government will benefit it. No government is going to spend billions again just to construct roads. This can be done with a little amount of money. And then even body the transportation is going to cost a little, like my engineer earlier said. So in the all process, you discover that what Skyway have come to bring to transport system.
So the railing that needs to be constructed is not as expensive as if you're constructing a normal road network.
Exactly.
That's what you're saying?
Exactly. Look at the process that's involved. You want to construct the road. You have to, the bush, all of the topography have to be taken into consideration, the Buddhism and all of those things that has to be done. But this one is just a string. You take it up, even through the forest, through the river, anywhere can be possible.
So how dangerous is that? I mean, how dangerous is that? What will be the fear of an average Nigerian out there? That, oh, I need to, this thing in the sky, and something is just maybe a string or something holding it in the sky. Yes, how safe am I?
All right. The engineers working on this Skyway, these machines, all of these have been certified.
Okay.
Now, the truth is, those cables, they are wearing for, like my engineer said earlier, we have about 100 years guarantee. That's to tell you that those things are done with the best material to ensure that when these things are working, there's not going to be any of such. And the government is going to benefit, like I said earlier, in a very huge way. In a huge manner. And even, every new technology, there's that fear. For example, when the aviation started, a lot of people don't want to take the aeroplane and all of that. So we understand that. But over the time, when you see that this is successful very fast, and all of the advantage can talk about, and coupled with the fact that it uses artificial intelligence. That itself is a huge advantage. You don't need to go with police and all of those stuff to secure the highway. There's a drone that goes with it that gives signal to the headquarters, whatever is happening on the way. Even if any obstruction come along the train or the string, it will be radio to the station that something is happening there. And so it is totally scientific, and as such, all of those things have been put into consideration, and those things have been resolved.
Engineer Wansi, I'm sure you're itching to say something as far as I know we don't emphasize any form of negativity, but then if you look at the aviation sector, for example, you want to look at the number of persons that have lost their lives over the years. The number is alarming. Well, in this part of the world, even though we can be grateful to Almighty God, we know we are very prayerful in this part of the world, that we have not really had any of such, in recent time. But then, if we want to look at the fatality, all right, the fatality of this kind of a transport system, how would you say that it is something that is negligible?
Well, thank you very much. You see, all this in their design and development, most of all these things were factored in. The risks and dangers that are involved in the movement of this vehicle. And this engineer, Anatoly Yuniski, came up with an ingenious technology, what we call anti-derailing system. That the vehicle that is hanging on that cable is locked into place to that cable. So the chances of that vehicle dropping off is almost zero, because, as I said, it has an anti-derailing system that is locked in. And that technology alone gives a guarantee of why that system must work and work very well. And besides that, you see, it has its own dedicated rules, said that before. And in the case of the electric vehicles from Elon Musk and the rest, in recent times, the autopilot system appears to be failing. And a number of vehicles are being recalled. You understand? And that tells you that there's a whole lot of work that needs to be done. There's a whole lot of risks, just as is being done in the aviation. Because if anything makes the engines to fail in the air, the airplane will drop to the ground. In this case, we are looking at a situation where maybe for whatever reason, let us say the entire 4 engines of a Skyway system are not working. It still has a stored energy there that is available for any one of them that can pick. You understand? And if any of them are not working, it will be hanging on the rail there. It will definitely not fall off. Yes, it will be hanging on the rail there. There is no risk involved. The people will be staying as normal. The air conditioning system, the artificial intelligence is monitoring everybody. if there's any suspicion of any abnormality, the signals are radioed to the station. Okay. As a matter of fact, it's also very, very suitable for the security challenges we have in this country. Okay. Because as it's moving, it has the opportunity of cameras being mounted, just as you have our lighting system. And because it has the ability to sense from about 500 meters from where it is one of the solutions to some of all these challenges we are having on our routes. And if there's any possibility of danger, and it senses it, definitely it will not get to that place where the danger is. And it has the capacity to drive in the opposite direction. Okay. And these are all safety features that has been factored in. This artificial intelligence is done in such a way that if that object that is a threat to it tends to pursue it, and is in pursuit, it will run just as much distance that threat is coming. Okay. The amount of speed or the speed with which that threat is coming is the equivalent of the speed this vehicle will take in the opposite direction to ensure that everybody, ensure the safety of everybody in that vehicle. And so we can say generally that Skyway is way, way ahead of the conventional electric vehicle. And because of its dedicated route, everything that is happening along it has sensors and signals being monitored in the control station. Whatever it is, if artificial intelligence senses that somebody has suddenly developed ill health, it will be radioed to the station, and drone helicopters will be moved to the location.
As a passenger inside the vehicle.
Yes, it will be moved to the location where that person will be evacuated for immediate medical attention. And these are all the effort that has put in. And let me also quickly put in this, that for the company, because of the low cost, they are ready to take up the cost of putting this facility in place if they go into a joint venture with either state or federal government. So the idea of what they are going to spend is not really, should not be a factor for deterrent.
Okay,
because
as to what the government
because it's so cheap. If you say a kilometer, every 500 meters apart, there are poles.
Do you think Nigeria is ripe to adopt a electric vehicle?
Sir, when we were before the advent of GSM in this country, it got to a point where most of the countries around us were already making use of GSM, and that impacted seriously on us. It was the uproar by citizens that made the government to act very fast and conducted an international bidding and proceeded with installation of cell site, which federal government even funded to make sure that the network is distributed everywhere in this country. That tells you that because they have seen the advantages, even when our government wasn't into it, by the time our citizens went outside this country, even up to Cotonou here, and they saw the wheelbarrow users making use of cell phone. And then it became a national urgency to deploy this cell phone. Such a situation is what we are looking at here, because we have been dealt with quite a number of challenges. The security, the traffic build-up in most of our routes these days, accidents, a good number of them not undocumented, because Nigerians, we have a way of sorting ourselves out. So if the government is saying they are not having the exact data of accidents that are taking place on the average, well, you can understand why. But the fact is that because we have so many vehicles coming in, and our roads has not been expanded, and even when they are expanded, more vehicles will come, and this traffic congestion will continue. So the way out is Skyway, the way we see it presently.
Okay, well, we cannot take more of your contribution, but then I will just want to ask Wilson, just before we leave here, to quickly maybe throw more light on some of the things that Engineer Wanze, talked about as to the need for Nigeria to embrace a technologically driven transport system, which of course, according to him, he said is the way to go. Exactly. But then whether Nigeria is ready for it now, he's saying that Nigeria, there is no time, there cannot be any time to be ready, that Nigeria is ready. Exactly. that's the point you're making. Exactly. But then we also know that there is depth of infrastructure, and that will be a major challenge for the country to, for the country to want to adopt this kind of system. But eventually, if it's towed the line adopting the electric cars and what have you, all the entire old transport system infrastructure that will embrace artificial intelligence and of course electric vehicles, maybe is the way to go. But then, does it not sound to you like electric vehicle as it were as of today seems to be elitist, kind of, something that will not accommodate the lower cadre in the society?
All right. Now, just to add to what you said earlier, you see, what Skyway presents is different from every other electric vehicle you know out there. You know, this is a vehicle that produces its power. So you are not looking at the situation whereby you need electricity to, to plug it, to charge it, and all of those stuff. As you move on the train, it generates its power. Now, secondly, if you go out to the city and you discover there are a lot of fuel scarcity and all of that, with Skyway, those things will be a thing of the past. Now, you also understand with me that the whole world today, we are driving towards, a carbon-free society. So Skyway solves that problem. It simply means using Skyway.
Just like Elon Musk electric vehicle too.
Like, so the difference with that is that now you need to charge it, but this one, it charges itself as it moves.
Okay, charges
so
itself.
It generates power, it still gives power to the city. Okay. For example, your electric power and like the traffic light, those things can be powered with the energy that comes from Skyway, excess energy. And there is no fuel that needs to be used. And that alone, it will reduce the over-dependence on petrol, which has caused a lot of global warming. Engineer
Wilson and Engineer Wanzi Joseph, our tech experts, I want to appreciate you for coming through on the program this afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Okay, well, that's our show this Friday. By the way, it's the last edition for the month of February, talking about business this week. We'll see you again in the month of March. Until then, keep doing business. Have an amazing weekend.